You've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange disconnection. That quiet sense that something you once knew how to access no longer responds the way it used to. You practice appreciation. You remind yourself of what matters. You make the effort to stay positive, yet underneath it all, there's this hollow sensation. And here's what I want you to understand. This isn't happening because you're broken. It's happening because you've forgotten the most fundamental truth about your own power. If this video reached you today, it's because your consciousness has arrived at a threshold. The version of gratitude you've been practicing, the mental repetition, the surface-level acknowledgement, can no longer sustain the frequency of the being you're becoming. You didn't stumble here randomly. While countless others are moving through their feeds unconsciously, something in you recognized this moment. That recognition is your system telling you. The way you've been approaching appreciation has been operating from the mind, not from the electromagnetic field of your entire being. And that's precisely why it hasn't generated the transformation you've been seeking. Most people have no idea that gratitude isn't something you think about. It isn't a mental exercise. It isn't even primarily an emotional experience. Gratitude is a vibrational state. And when your body isn't calibrated to transmit that vibration, every word you speak becomes just another empty sound wave that dissolves before it ever touches your reality. Picture yourself standing before a quantum reflection. Whatever vibrational signature you're actually holding, whether it's worry, uncertainty, or depletion, that's exactly what gets mirrored back into your experience. Most people attempt to engage with appreciation while their entire system is still resonating with the frequency of insufficiency. The quantum reflection doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your actual transmission. But here's what almost nobody understands. Authentic appreciation doesn't originate in your thoughts. It begins with a tiny, precise recalibration in your physical form, a gentle expansion in your heart center, a quiet release in your autonomic nervous system, a single instant where your entire field communicates. I am safe now. I can allow expansion. That is what separates appreciation that feels empty from appreciation that actually rewrites the trajectory of your life. And in the moments ahead, I'm going to reveal to you the precise mechanics of how to engage with gratitude in a way that transforms it into a quantum technology, one that restructures your reality from the cellular level outward. Your deeper intelligence already understands why this message found you. Let's step into this together. You recognize this sensation, don't you? That subtle flatness in your chest. That quiet gap between the appreciation you're attempting to express and the emotional reality you're actually inhabiting inside. Emotional disconnection isn't the complete absence of sensation. It's the frequency mismatch between what your conscious mind is attempting to broadcast and what your physical body is actually holding. And this mismatch is the primary reason most people believe appreciation doesn't create change. Emotional disconnection isn't a character flaw. It's a quantum communication from your system, a signal that your nervous system remains in survival orientation even while your conscious mind is reaching for higher vibrational states. When your body is locked in defensive contraction, whether that's fight response, flight response, freeze state, or complete shutdown, it simply cannot receive the vibrational frequency of true appreciation. It can echo the language, it can cycle through the mental patterns, but your electromagnetic field stays collapsed. This is the reason you can write endless lists of things you appreciate and feel absolutely nothing. The reason you can declare, "I'm grateful," and still experience that hollow emptiness. The reason the harder you push toward appreciation, the heavier your chest becomes. Your emotional disconnection isn't your resistance to transformation. It's your system communicating. I don't yet feel safe enough to open and expand. Most people interpret this state as personal failure. They conclude they're not evolved enough, not optimistic enough, or not disciplined enough in their practice. But the reality is far more compassionate and far more quantum. Disconnection means your body hasn't yet achieved coherent resonance. It hasn't synchronized with the frequency your awareness is reaching toward. Understanding this is your first real step, because disconnection isn't the conclusion of your appreciation practice. It's the doorway into doing it correctly. Most people engage with appreciation the way they were conditioned to, by mentally cataloging what they should value. They create lists, revisit pleasant experiences, recite positive statements, and attempt to mentally persuade themselves into feeling grateful. But this is intellectual appreciation. Appreciation that exists in thought patterns, not in your quantum field. And intellectual appreciation generates almost zero quantum impact. Intellectual appreciation is like pointing a light toward reality from far away. Embodied appreciation is like becoming the light itself and radiating from that source. The distinction isn't metaphorical, it's mechanical. Intellectual appreciation activates repetitive thought cycles. Embodied appreciation activates vibrational transmission. Intellectual appreciation attempts to recall reasons for thankfulness. Embodied appreciation transforms your body's energetic signature, so your field can actually receive and transmit the frequency of appreciation. When you only think appreciation, you remain locked in the observation cycle, repeating identical emotional patterns and collapsing into the same timeline over and over. But when appreciation reaches your cellular structure, everything transforms. Your heart begins to soften, your breathing naturally deepens, your nervous system releases its grip, and coherence starts forming like a resonant wave moving through your entire system. This is the reason some people practice appreciation for years without seeing any shift in their external reality, while others experience profound transformation in a matter of weeks. One group is mentally cataloging blessings. The other group is embodying the vibrational state of being blessed. Embodied appreciation isn't about manufacturing a feeling. It's about permitting your body to attune to a frequency that your mind alone can never generate. When your physical form joins the practice, appreciation stops being a mental concept and becomes a portal into an entirely different timeline. Here's what most people never realize. Practicing appreciation from a misaligned emotional frequency doesn't simply fail to work. It actually collapses you deeper into the exact reality you're attempting to escape. False appreciation, forced appreciation, or appreciation spoken from a place of fear activates a probability pattern that matches the authentic frequency you're embodying, not the language you're using. If your body is holding the vibration of scarcity while your mind is listing blessings, the quantum field responds to the scarcity transmission, not the mental content. This is the reason people say things like, "I appreciate everything in my life, yet I still feel constant anxiety about losing it." The reason they attempt to value their circumstances, yet nothing actually shifts. The reason appreciation sometimes feels like applying a fresh coat of paint to a wall that's still structurally damaged underneath. The quantum field doesn't process language. It reads coherence. It reads the electromagnetic signature of your actual state. When you say thank you from a foundation of fear, you amplify fear. When you say thank you from a foundation of lack, you reinforce lack. When you say thank you while your nervous system is locked in contraction, you collapse into the version of yourself that continues to exist inside that contracted state. It's not your intention that shapes reality. It's your frequency of observation. False appreciation collapses the wrong probability wave because the collapse occurs at the level of embodiment, not conceptual thought. The field doesn't register what you're attempting to feel. It mirrors what you're actually transmitting. And this understanding is profoundly liberating because the instant you stop forcing appreciation and begin aligning with it, the entire timeline you've been trapped inside begins to dissolve. One of the earliest indicators that your appreciation frequency is out of alignment is a subtle distortion in how you experience time, what I call the temporal ripple pattern. You might notice that days stretch in a strange way, yet meaningful progress feels impossibly slow. Moments elongate, but nothing significant seems to evolve. This isn't about laziness, avoidance, or insufficient willpower. It's a quantum indicator that your internal frequency and your external intentions are vibrating in different directions. When appreciation is practiced from mental activity instead of somatic experience, your timelines stop flowing with ease. Instead of progressing forward, they begin creating loops. Time becomes dense, stagnant, or fractured because you're attempting to elevate into a higher frequency reality while your nervous system remains anchored in survival contraction. This mismatch generates what I call temporal resistance. Your awareness attempts to expand forward, but your field keeps pulling you back into repetition. You experience it when you say you appreciate something, yet feel no actual expansion. You experience it when a single hour feels like an emotional endurance test. You experience it when you sense you're meant to move forward, yet something internal keeps you frozen in place. The temporal ripple pattern emerges because appreciation, when misaligned, cannot collapse the timeline you're reaching for. Instead, it strengthens the timeline you're trying to exit. The result is a warped experience of time, slow, cyclical, and energetically frozen. Recognizing this distortion isn't a setback. It's a signal that your field is requesting coherence, not performance. Time isn't resisting your movement forward. It's reflecting your actual state. When your appreciation becomes embodied, time begins flowing again. Another unmistakable sign that your appreciation frequency is misaligned is what I call the emotional rebound. The sensation of appreciation rising for a brief moment only to collapse back into anxiety, emptiness, or tension within minutes. It feels like a momentary spark that never develops into sustained flame. You attempt to appreciate your life. You sense a brief flash of warmth, but the sensation doesn't hold. It snaps back. This rebound isn't your failure, it's physics. The emotional rebound appears whenever your mind attempts to generate a frequency your body cannot sustain. You can think appreciation for a few seconds, but if your nervous system is still wired for threat detection or scarcity awareness, the coherence cannot stabilize. Your body reverts to its baseline pattern, creating this echo-like effect. Appreciation rises, then collapses. Appreciation rises, then collapses. It's the identical pattern you experience when you take a conscious breath to release tension, but the tension returns immediately, or when you attempt to shift into an elevated state, yet heaviness drags you right back down. The emotional rebound is your field communicating. I register the language, but I don't trust the signal. Most people misinterpret this as insufficient discipline or spiritual inadequacy, but in truth, It's an incredible diagnostic mechanism. It shows you precisely where coherence is absent. The rebound isn't instructing you to try harder. It's revealing that appreciation must transition from thinking to embodiment. Once your body feels safe enough to hold the frequency, the rebound disappears and appreciation finally begins to accumulate instead of dissolving. The third sign that your appreciation frequency is misaligned is something subtle yet undeniable: energetic pushback. You feel it as a slight constriction in your chest, a tightness in your throat, a weight in your stomach, or an internal recoil the moment you attempt to practice appreciation. It's your body's way of communicating. I'm not yet ready to receive this frequency. Energetic pushback doesn't mean you're unappreciative. It means your system hasn't yet developed the coherence required to hold genuine appreciation. When your nervous system is operating from survival contraction, whether that's fear, defensiveness, or hypervigilance, appreciation feels unsafe. Expansion feels unfamiliar. Softness feels threatening. So your body resists, not from defiance, but from protection. This resistance is the reason some people feel irritation or even sadness when attempting appreciation practices. It's the reason journaling can sometimes feel manufactured. It's the reason affirmations can feel inauthentic. It's the reason your heart feels closed even when your mind is saying, "I want to be appreciative." You're not resisting appreciation. Your body is resisting frequency mismatch. Your mind is reaching upward, but your body is still preparing for impact. Energetic pushback is not an obstacle. It's a guidance system. It shows you exactly where your system needs regulation, gentleness, and safety before authentic appreciation can emerge. When you interpret resistance as information instead of failure, everything shifts. Because once your body is given permission to release, coherence activates and appreciation stops feeling like work and starts feeling like your natural state. Most people believe appreciation is something you feel, an emotional state that appears when life provides you a reason to value it. But that definition is far too limited. Appreciation is not an emotion you wait for. It's a frequency you generate, a vibration your field emits before your mind ever labels it as a feeling. And when you understand this, the entire mechanics of appreciation transform. Emotions are temporary, reactive, and dependent on external circumstances. Frequencies are stable, creative, and capable of restructuring circumstances. This is the reason emotional appreciation fades so rapidly. It relies on conditions. But frequency-based appreciation can exist even in uncertainty, even in transition, even in the center of challenge. It doesn't require proof. It becomes the proof. When you treat appreciation as a frequency, you stop asking, "What am I appreciative of?" and start asking, "What frequency am I transmitting right now?" Frequency precedes feeling. Emotion follows. This is the reason some people practice appreciation, yet never shift their reality. They're waiting for emotion instead of generating coherence. Think of appreciation like tuning a musical instrument. If the instrument is out of tune, forcing a melody doesn't create beauty. But when the instrument is properly tuned, even a single note generates resonance. Your nervous system operates the same way. When you tune your field into the frequency of appreciation, the emotional experience of appreciation naturally emerges. Not because you force it, but because you've aligned with the vibration where appreciation already exists. Coherence is the moment appreciation stops being a concept and becomes a physiological reality. It's when your heart, mind, and nervous system begin vibrating in unified direction, generating a coherent electromagnetic signal that the quantum field can actually respond to. Without coherence, appreciation is just mental noise. With coherence, appreciation becomes a resonant wave that reorganizes your entire timeline. Most people attempt to think their way into appreciation, but coherence isn't created through thought. It's created through regulation, through the softening of your chest, the releasing of your diaphragm, the slowing of your breath, the quieting of your survival system. When your body relaxes even by a single %, coherence begins to activate. And in that activation, appreciation can finally land, take root, and accumulate. If this is landing for you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring these frequencies together. Coherence isn't about intensity, it's about alignment. It's not forcing yourself to feel better. It's allowing your system to feel safe enough to expand. When coherence activates, your entire field shifts. Your heart begins transmitting rhythmic electromagnetic patterns. Your brain drops out of analytical cycling. Your breath deepens without conscious effort. And your emotional body becomes receptive instead of defensive. This is the moment appreciation transforms from a mental activity into a frequency signature, something the quantum field can recognize, match, and mirror back into your life. Coherence is the gateway. It's the bridge between intention and embodiment, between desire and manifestation, between wishing for a new reality and actually collapsing into one. Once coherence begins, appreciation no longer requires force. It naturally rises to meet the frequency you've created. The deepest truth about appreciation is this: it doesn't just influence your reality, it selects it. At the quantum level, infinite versions of your life already exist simultaneously. There's a version of you who is peaceful, aligned, and fully supported. A version of you who receives with complete ease. A version of you who lives in flow instead of friction. Appreciation is the frequency that determines which version of you becomes real, and if what we've explored so far is resonating with you. If you're beginning to recognize this shift from mental practice to embodied transmission, I want you to know that appreciation is just one of 9 master frequencies that determine your entire reality. In my book, Beyond the Frequencies, A Quantum Guide to Consciousness Mastery, I walk you through the complete system of moving from unconscious transmission to conscious broadcasting, from seeking external validation to becoming the field itself. It's linked in the pinned comment below. Most people think appreciation attracts positive things, but attraction implies delay, something traveling towards you across time. Quantum mechanics operates differently. You don't attract a timeline. You collapse into it. And the collapse happens at the level of frequency. When your body enters the frequency of appreciation, even for a single moment, it transmits a coherent signal to the field. Select the reality where this vibration already exists. Suddenly, synchronicities emerge. People respond to you differently. Opportunities feel closer. Your internal state shifts the external timeline you step into. This is the reason appreciation spoken from fear collapses the wrong reality. Because the field responds to the authentic frequency behind the language. But when appreciation is embodied, when your nervous system softens, when your breath deepens, when your chest opens even slightly, you're no longer hoping for a better reality. You're aligning with one. Appreciation is not the reward. It's the mechanism, the selector, the signal that tells the universe, collapse the version of me that matches this frequency. Now, The biggest misunderstanding about appreciation is the idea that it attracts positive things into your life. Attraction suggests distance, delay, and waiting, something moving towards you over time. But quantum mechanics operates through collapse. Appreciation doesn't pull reality toward you. Appreciation selects which version of reality becomes real in this moment. This shift changes how appreciation functions at the quantum level. In the quantum field, every possibility already exists. The version of you who flourishes, the version of you who struggles, the version of you who feels supported, and the version who feels isolated. When you embody appreciation, not think it or force it, you collapse into the version of yourself that already lives inside that frequency. The change doesn't happen in the future. It happens in the present moment. Reorganizing probability patterns toward natural appreciation. This is the reason waiting for appreciation to bring something is a trap. You're still transmitting lack. But the instant appreciation becomes embodied, the separation dissolves. The version of you who feels held, aligned, and supported comes online immediately. Not because something was delivered, but because you shifted into the version of yourself who already receives differently. Appreciation isn't a magnet. It's a frequency selector, a collapse mechanism, a doorway into the timeline where the life you desire is already unfolding. Here's the part almost nobody understands, and it's the reason most people insist appreciation doesn't work. When appreciation is practiced from a frequency of lack, it doesn't elevate your timeline. It reinforces the one you're attempting to escape. If you say thank you while your body is contracting in fear, the field registers contraction. It responds to the authentic frequency behind the language. This is the shock point. You can be appreciative and still collapse into scarcity if the appreciation is originating from scarcity. False safety, forced appreciation, thoughts like, I should be appreciative or I'm trying my best. These emotional tones carry frequencies of fear, pressure, and inadequacy, causing the collapse mechanism to select the version of you where those states remain active. It's like attempting to whisper a blessing while your body is internally screaming. Most people never recognize this mismatch. They assume their appreciation practice is weak, inconsistent, or ineffective. But what's actually happening is simple physics. The field doesn't collapse according to language. It collapses according to coherence. Appreciation spoken from fear collapses the fear timeline. Appreciation spoken from stress collapses the stress timeline. Appreciation spoken from, I hope this works, collapses the timeline where nothing changes. This isn't punishment. It's precision. The universe isn't judging your efforts. It's mirroring your frequency. And once you understand this, you stop performing appreciation and begin aligning with it. The greatest illusion surrounding appreciation is the belief that speaking the words is sufficient. People assume that if they repeat affirmations, create lists, or remind themselves to be thankful, something in their reality will shift. But this is the illusion. Verbal appreciation without energetic alignment doesn't transform anything. It only creates the appearance of effort. This illusion forms because the mind loves rituals, while the quantum field responds only to embodiment. You can speak appreciation while your nervous system remains guarded or disconnected. In that state, the words float at the surface while the field transmits a completely different signal beneath them. And the universe mirrors the signal, not the sentence. Breaking the illusion means understanding that appreciation is not a performance, not a checklist, not a spiritual technique. It's a frequency of openness, safety, and expansion that cannot be faked. The illusion also appears in the belief that appreciation must always feel light or joyful. But authentic appreciation often begins in stillness, in a quiet softening of the heart, in the subtle release of tension you didn't realize you were carrying. Sometimes appreciation feels like relief, sometimes like peace, sometimes like spaciousness. These states are far more powerful than forced positivity. When you break the illusion, appreciation stops being something you attempt and becomes something you access. It becomes a portal, not a performance. And when you step out of the illusion, you finally step into the timeline, where appreciation actually generates transformation. Most people attempt to practice appreciation with their thoughts, believing that if they can think positively enough or list enough blessings, their reality will shift. But mental appreciation is only the first layer, the surface level. It creates awareness, yes, but it doesn't create transformation. For appreciation to actually reshape your timeline, it must move from the mind into the body, where coherence can form and the quantum field can register the signal. Mental appreciation is reflective. Embodied appreciation is generative. Mental appreciation notices what is positive. Embodied appreciation becomes the frequency that generates more positive. The shift from mental to embodied appreciation begins with one simple truth. The body must feel safe before it can feel appreciative. If your nervous system is in survival mode, even mild survival mode, it cannot hold appreciation. The body interprets expansion as risk, softness as vulnerability, and openness as exposure. Appreciation becomes a cognitive exercise rather than a lived experience. Embodied appreciation happens when your breath softens, your chest loosens, your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches, and your heart field begins to open. It's a physiological shift that tells the field, I am not threatened. I can expand now. This is the reason people who struggle with anxiety, tension, or emotional disconnection often find appreciation practices difficult. They're attempting to overlay a high-frequency state onto a body that isn't ready to receive it. When appreciation becomes embodied, the frequency stabilizes, and once it stabilizes, reality begins to respond. The most powerful element of an authentic appreciation practice isn't the list, the journal, or the intention. It's the micro-shift that occurs inside your body within the first 2 seconds of awareness. 2 seconds may sound insignificant, but in quantum terms, it's everything. It's the window where your nervous system decides whether to remain in its old frequency or open into a new one. The 2-second micro-shift is simple. It's the tiny moment when you soften instead of tighten, when you breathe instead of brace, when you allow instead of resist. That subtle physiological signal is what tells the quantum field, I am transitioning frequencies now. I'm curious, have you noticed this micro-shift happening in your own practice? Drop a comment below sharing what changes when you move from thinking appreciation to feeling it in your body. Most people miss this window because they dive straight into mental appreciation, attempting to think their way into the feeling. But the field doesn't respond to thoughts. It responds to the state change that happens when your body relaxes even slightly. One softened breath can initiate more coherence than an entire page of written appreciation. In those 2 seconds, your body moves from contraction to openness, from survival to receptivity, from looping to selection. It is not dramatic, it is not emotional, it is precise. Once the micro-shift happens, Appreciation has a place to land. It becomes embodied automatically, without forcing, without pretending, without spiritual performance. The frequency begins to change because your body is no longer blocking it. 2 seconds can collapse an entire timeline. 2 seconds can shift your frequency more than an hour of journaling. Because appreciation doesn't need effort, it needs an opening. Embodied appreciation follows a natural sequence, a progression your nervous system must move through before coherence can form. I call this the vibrational stairway, and every genuine appreciation state climbs it in the same order: safety, softness, coherence. Skip a step, and appreciation becomes mental. Honor each step, and appreciation becomes a quantum signature. The first step is safety. If your body does not feel safe, it cannot expand. Safety doesn't mean comfort or perfection. It means the absence of immediate threat. A single steady breath, a loosened jaw, or the release of your shoulders is enough to signal safety to your system. Once safety is established, your body naturally moves into softness. Softness isn't weakness. It's the dissolving of internal rigidity. It feels like your heart unlocking a fraction of an inch, your breath widening, or your chest opening just enough for energy to move. Most people attempt to jump directly into appreciation without this softness, which is the reason the emotion feels forced or inauthentic. From softness, your system enters coherence. This is where your heart field stabilizes. Your mind becomes quiet, and appreciation begins to arise on its own. You're no longer chasing the feeling. You're receiving it. Coherence is the state where appreciation becomes a frequency powerful enough to collapse reality into a higher timeline. The vibrational stairway isn't a technique. It's a biological truth. You don't climb it with effort. You climb it with alignment. The most effective way to shift appreciation from the mind into the body is through a simple but profound practice I call the 3-breath recalibration. This ritual works because it targets your nervous system directly, creating the physiological opening required for appreciation to become embodied rather than imagined. In just 3 intentional breaths, you can collapse the old frequency you were holding and create space for a new timeline to come online. Breath 1. The release. On the first inhale, bring awareness to where your body is bracing: your chest, your stomach, your jaw. As you exhale, let the tension dissolve by even 1%. This isn't a deep breath. It's a soft exhale that tells your system, I'm not in danger right now. This micro-release is enough to shift you out of survival mode. Breath 2. The descent. The second breath brings you deeper into your body. Inhale gently into your ribcage. Then exhale as if you're sinking downward, grounding yourself into the present moment. This breath signals, I can be here. I can inhabit my body. Most people skip this step entirely, which is the reason their appreciation stays mental. Breath 3. The opening. The final breath is the actual collapse, the moment the old frequency dissolves. Inhale softly, then exhale through your heart area, allowing your chest to expand a little more than before. This creates coherence, the energetic opening that allows appreciation to land. 3 breaths, 3 shifts, 3 seconds to collapse into a new frequency. The second micro-practice for embodied appreciation is the heart resonance touch. A simple gesture that activates your heart field faster than any affirmation or journal entry ever could. This ritual works because touch communicates safety to your nervous system in a language deeper than thought. When your body feels safe, your heart becomes receptive. And when your heart becomes receptive, appreciation becomes effortless. To begin, place your hand gently on the center of your chest. Not pressing, not pushing, just resting. The warmth of your palm sends a direct signal to your system. You can soften. You're allowed to open. This single touch begins to regulate your vagus nerve, slowing your heart rate, loosening your diaphragm, and dissolving micro-tensions you didn't realize you were holding. Your chest subtly expands, your breath deepens, and your emotional body shifts from defense into receptivity. Next, apply the slightest circular movement, barely noticeable, almost symbolic. This is not a massage. It's an activation, a way of creating resonance between your awareness and your heart field. The goal isn't to generate emotion. The goal is to create coherence. As you breathe with your hand on your chest, you may feel a soft warmth, a gentle tingling, or a quiet sense of presence. These sensations are signs that your heart field is coming online and preparing to hold the frequency of appreciation. The heart resonance touch is powerful because it bypasses the mind completely. It goes straight to the body where appreciation actually becomes real. The third micro-practice is what I call the symbolic release technique, a ritual that externalizes your frequency shift, turning an internal intention into a physical collapse of the old timeline. This technique works because your subconscious responds powerfully to symbolic actions. When you give your mind and body a tangible gesture of release, the quantum field receives a clear signal. The old identity is complete. Collapse it now. Begin with a small piece of paper. Write a single sentence, not a wish, not an affirmation, but a declaration of alignment. I am, coherent with the timeline that already holds this blessing. The wording matters. You're not asking, you're not hoping, you're not trying to manifest, you're choosing. Once the sentence is written, pause for a moment and observe your body. Notice any tension, resistance, or contraction that arises as you read the words. That discomfort is the old frequency attempting to hold on. Now comes the portal moment. Slowly tear the paper into small pieces. This is not symbolic destruction. It's a quantum severing, a physical act that represents the collapse of the previous identity, the one that doubted, feared, or felt unworthy of the blessing you've aligned with. As you tear the paper, exhale softly, allowing your body to release the old frequency with each rip. When the final piece falls away, your field becomes clear, receptive, and ready for the new frequency. The symbolic release technique transforms intention into embodiment, and embodiment into reality. Appreciation doesn't just transform your personal reality. It influences the collective field through a phenomenon known as morphic resonance. This principle suggests that when one system shifts its pattern, it becomes easier for others to shift in the same direction. In other words, your appreciation doesn't stay contained within you. It ripples outward, subtly shaping the emotional and energetic landscape around you. When you embody appreciation, not perform it, not pretend it, but truly hold its frequency, you emit a coherent signal that other nervous systems can sense. People around you soften without understanding why. Conversations shift tone. Environments feel lighter. Even strangers can sense the difference, responding to you with unexpected warmth or openness. This isn't psychological. It's energetic entrainment at the quantum level. Every time you access embodied appreciation, you're contributing to a collective pattern that encourages safety, openness, and connection. You make it easier for others to align with these states because your frequency adds weight to that pattern in the field. Morphic resonance means your personal shift becomes a collective invitation. Your coherence becomes permission. Your appreciation becomes a stabilizing force. You're not just changing your life when you practice appreciation correctly. You're helping recalibrate the field that all of us share. We often imagine global transformation as something loud, dramatic, or revolutionary. But the deepest shifts in human consciousness don't come from force. They come from soft frequencies: appreciation, coherence, compassion, presence. These are the signals that rewire collective patterns quietly, steadily, and powerfully. And right now, humanity is in the middle of a global awakening driven not by grand events, but by individuals learning to regulate their nervous systems and embody higher states of being. When you access embodied appreciation, you're participating in this awakening. You're transmitting a frequency that counteracts fear-based paradigms, softening the collective field in ways you may never fully see, but that absolutely matter. Soft frequencies ripple farther than intensity ever could because they're stable, sustainable, and non-threatening. They spread through entrainment, not persuasion. This is the reason the world feels different when even one coherent person walks into a chaotic environment. Their energy doesn't push, it reorganizes. Appreciation works the same way on a global scale. Every person who shifts into genuine appreciation adds coherence to the human field, making it easier for others to rise out of reactivity and into awareness. The awakening isn't coming someday. It's happening now through you, through us, through every moment of embodied appreciation. When you embody appreciation, you don't just shift into a new timeline. You become an anchor for that frequency in the collective field. Anchoring means you hold a stable signal that others unconsciously calibrate to. You become the reminder, the stabilizer, the quiet permission for others to soften into coherence without saying a single word. You've likely seen this in your own life. There are people whose presence makes you feel calmer, more grounded, more yourself. They don't do anything dramatic. They simply hold a frequency your system resonates with. Appreciation turns you into that person. As you continue practicing embodied appreciation, your field becomes more coherent. And coherent fields are powerful. They organize, harmonize, and elevate the environments they enter. Not through effort, but through resonance. This is what makes you a frequency anchor. You're no longer just shifting your personal reality. You're stabilizing a new pattern for the collective to access. You become a lighthouse, quiet, steady, unmistakably bright, guiding others toward the timelines they're ready for, but haven't yet learned to choose. This is the deeper purpose of appreciation. It's not simply about feeling good. It's about becoming someone whose frequency changes rooms, relationships, and realities. Your shift is never just yours. It radiates outward, lifting the field for everyone connected to you. Before we complete this transmission, I want you to pause right here. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase: I am worthy of the timeline I'm choosing. Not as a casual interaction, but as an energetic declaration. As a signal to the field that you're no longer willing to live inside the old story. This isn't just engagement. This is a conscious interruption in the loop. When you declare this, you're collapsing a probability wave. The quantum field receives your signal, and the more of us who do this together, the more we amplify this frequency for the collective. So go ahead. Comment. I am worthy of the timeline I'm choosing. Appreciation was never meant to be a list you write or a thought you repeat. It was always meant to be a frequency you embody, one that, reorganizes your inner world first, and then your outer world responds. By now you understand why your old appreciation practices felt flat, forced, or ineffective. They were happening in the mind while your body was still living in an old timeline. But once appreciation drops into your nervous system, once safety and softness open the gateway to coherence, appreciation becomes a quantum mechanism, one capable of collapsing you into a version of reality aligned with support, clarity, and expansion. Every breath you softened, every moment you opened, every micro shift you allowed has already begun rewriting your field. You're no longer practicing appreciation the way most people do. You're practicing it the way consciousness evolves. And that shift is irreversible because now you know appreciation isn't about attracting something someday. It's about selecting the timeline that already holds the version of you who receives differently, lives differently, is different. And if this understanding is resonating with something deep inside you, if you can feel this truth landing in your body and not just your mind, then I invite you to subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this space where we're exploring the mechanics of consciousness together. Because this isn't about consuming content. This is about joining a movement of individuals who are remembering their power and learning to embody it. When you subscribe, you're not just staying updated, you're staying coherent, staying aligned, staying connected to this frequency. And the more of us who hold this together, the more the world reflects that truth. And if this transmission is shifting something in you, consider watching this video every morning for the next week to anchor this frequency into your daily reality. Or share it with someone who's been stuck in mental gratitude without results. When you share quantum consciousness principles like these, you're not just helping them, you're reinforcing your own embodiment of the frequency, creating a ripple that amplifies manifestation for both of you. The field responds to collective coherence. As you move forward, remember this. Every moment of embodied appreciation strengthens your coherence. Every coherent moment strengthens the collective field. Your personal shift becomes a point of clarity in the global awakening unfolding right now. You are no longer just someone trying to be appreciative. You are someone becoming the frequency that appreciation comes from, and that changes everything. Before you go, drop one word in the comments that captures the energy, the intention, or the transformation you're choosing from this moment forward. Just one word. Let it be your energetic signature to the quantum field, your declaration, your anchor point. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now. Subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay elevated. Because the more of us who embody this frequency, the more the collective field shifts. We're not just changing our individual lives. We're recalibrating the frequency of human consciousness itself. Your shift matters. Your coherence matters. Your willingness to remember how powerful you are matters. If you're ready to anchor this fully, declare it now. Not just in the comments, but in your body, in your field, in the quantum space where all timelines exist simultaneously. Say it with me. I collapse into the appreciation timeline and allow the field to respond. I remember my power. I embody my worth. I choose the frequency of the life I'm meant to live. You've always been worthy. You've always been powerful. You just forgot for a moment. But that moment is over now. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome back to your frequency. Welcome back to the timeline where you finally remember who you actually are. Now, if you're ready to understand how the quantum field itself is delivering you a complete blueprint for reality creation, you need to see what I'm about to show you next. The quantum field is handing you the book of reality, reveals the exact mechanism through which your consciousness interfaces with the field to write your experience into existence. This isn't theory. It's the architecture of how reality actually forms around your awareness.